what's up to all you filmmakers and writers out there? This is Ron K. Armstrong, filmmaker extraordinaire, with a new video for you. And in this video, I want to talk about should you crowdfund your film. But before I do that, I want you to hit the like button on this video. If this is your first time to my channel. Hit the subscribe button to get notifications on when I go live and when I upload recorded videos. So let's get into this subject matter. Should you crowdfund your film? Now, I'm going to talk about 3 case studies that I know personally that'll give you some background and offer you some advice and insight as if you should crowdfund your film or crowdsource your film. The traditional way, there usually are 2 routes to go about it. This is the really conventional route is you go to a producer, you pitch your project, your producer options it, and then they take the project and they get it produced into a feature film. That doesn't necessarily mean you're attached to it. Now that's a whole different thing, but at least you get to see it on a big screen. The other option is you can go for the investor route, which is get an attorney, form an LLC, and kind of go after independent investors, which is very challenging. Now, the great thing about these 2 options is that there's a lot of support and information online for you to research and get more information on it. So let me just state a couple of the pros and cons here. Now, with pitching to producers, it's great because it just alleviates all the headache of trying to get a production crew together and things of that nature to shoot your film, because the producer will take it and try to get it into a studio. And you don't have to worry about all the details and stuff. The con to that, or the negative aspect, is they could actually not attach you to the project as a writer or a director. You could be closed off. They could pay you some money and say goodbye, bring on a ton of different writers and totally revamp it, make it into something that wasn't your original vision. Now, if we look at the investor route, the thing about there's a lengthy process. It's a lot of money to get your lawyer, put that LLC together. But the great thing about it is that you have more control. You have a say in terms of the direction, the creative vision, and everything. And your investor, they're just like silent partners, so you don't have to worry too much about them. So let's get into the actual crowdfunding, which is the latest and greatest thing most people are doing. So let me go over these 3 case studies to give you an idea of how you can go about it and be successful. But before I do that, I just want you to keep in mind that I have my program which dives deep into this stuff and more, which is called secretmoviedealprogram.com. Go to that website, check it out. There's a lot of great information on breaking into Hollywood, connecting with directors and producers, crowdfunding, the whole gamut, so it's packed full of information, and it's just a lot of cutting edge information that goes around the traditional route, because Hollywood, they like to close the door on young aspiring artists. So I show you how to break in and have some measure of success for yourself. And that's really important. That's what you want to do. So let's get into this crowdfunding or crowdsourcing aspect. I just recently got back from a trip from Florida where I visited a friend who actually has a mini studio out there, and it was incredible. It far exceeded my expectations. He took me on a tour of the studio. He has sets built, dressing rooms, everything. And what he did was he crowdsourced it. He got a large following of people to give him money, and I think he started with $250,000 and it grew from there. And he was able to rent his warehouse out, build these sets, and shoot his film. And after his film was completed, he then opened the studio up to have other filmmakers come in, pay a fee so they can shoot their films there and even use his sets. And I thought that was just extraordinary. That's just awesome. And that's similar to another guy I know in New York. I'm going to visit his studio, who did the exact same thing. He put a studio together, a mini studio together, shot his film, left the sets standing, and now any filmmaker can come there and they can shoot in that studio. And you may recall Tyler Perry is famous for building his studio. He's now Tyler Perry, the billionaire, to where he started renting his studios out to other productions that can come in and shoot. And this lets you flip that project where you can take in money by filmmakers renting out your studio. And it's a wonderful, wonderful idea. And I was just amazed, as I said, when I went and toured the studio in Florida, just amazed at how elaborate and how just really it was a studio, a working studio. So it was fantastic. Now, there are a lot of platforms that allow you to crowdsource. You have your Kickstarter, you have your Patreon. Um, and the trick about doing this is that you've got to have a following. It has to be from the very beginning. If you don't have a large following, which equates to whether you're on YouTube having a lot of subscribers or an email list where you have a million email lists of people you know that you can tap into. If you don't have that, then it's going to be very difficult for you to raise money for your project. Very, very difficult. Let me give you another example. I'm not going to mention his name, but there's a filmmaker who shot a short film and it was high production value. And it was so successful, he was able to raise, no kidding you, $1 million to make the feature film. Now, the reason I'm not mentioning his name because there's a lot of there's a lot of lawsuits going on because there's a question about did all of that money go to producing the actual feature film? The actual feature film has not happened yet, and he's saying it's because of because of what's going on in the world today. People are saying they're owed money because they've done some work on the special effects and never got paid. So there's a lot of things going on, but the way he was able to do is he just did a high concept trailer and then put that trailer online and people started donating to support him. I know another filmmaker who produces documentaries, and what he does, and he has a large YouTube subscribers base. I think it's about 250,000, 300,000, something like that. And what he does is every time he gears up to make a documentary, he asks his subs to basically donate through Cash App or whatever, and they do. And I think the lowest amount he's ever received, no kidding, was about $60,000. So he takes that money, he produces a documentary. Then he forwards the documentary. He shows it in a one theater in one city, and then he moves on to the next city and he releases his own DVD. And he's been so successful that he's produced 5 documentaries, and they're on Amazon. And you can streaming, you can check it out. The only problem I have with that is that the people donating they donate, then they have to pay to go see his movie in the theater and then pay for a DVD copy. I think it's kind of wrong in a way, but it's if they want to do that, that's up to them. And they're not getting much in return for the donation. So usually if you're doing crowdfunding, you want to offer something, a perk, to get people to donate, such as T-shirts, credit in the film, and so forth. And it always helps to be very, very motivated and have a story behind you. It's difficult to sell a film concept, but if you can sell a story behind the film concept that makes it unique, and I'm going to give you an example. I can write a script about a doctor who loses a patient and falls apart and doesn't think he's worth anything anymore, or he doubts his abilities. Okay, great. I can pitch that to a producer, or I can put that up online and try to crowdsource it. But if I say that this is my actual story, I lost a patient, and that patient was my sister. And because of that, I spent 2 years addicted to alcohol. I doubted my abilities, but I made a comeback. And now I'm at the top of my profession. I'm a top surgeon. That type of thing goes a long way to sell your movie. People respond to that. It doesn't matter if you're going to pitch it to a producer, find an investor, or do crowdsourcing. That's the key to it all. And again, if you want to learn more, check out my program, secretmoviedealprogram.com. It gives you a lot more tips on how to get the cutting edge that you need to get your film produced and break into Hollywood. But these examples that I've given you about the 2 filmmakers who crowdsourced their film and created a studio and now rent the studio out to other filmmakers, they flipped that. They flipped that money so that now they have something tangible and they can keep producing films if they want, and the documentary filmmaker as well. But you've got to have that support. You've got to have that base first. I can tell you, and I hate to paint a dim picture for you, but I can tell you the story of a lot of filmmakers who set goals, some lofty and some not. Some have said I only need $50,000. Another says I need $500,000. And the the thing is, where you can get caught in a very difficult situation is If you're trying to raise $100,000 and you only raise $10,000, oh my God, what do you do then? Do you give the money back? Do you keep it? So that's something you have to really consider. And with the other filmmaker who was able to raise $1 million just off of his teaser film, his short film, you've got to produce the film. You can't have excuses of why the film is not produced, and you've collected millions of dollars from your supporters. They're going to start filing legal action, and things are going to happen. They're going to drag your name through the mud, and you won't work in Hollywood. People will get to know you as some type of con artist, you know. So you have to be very careful about that because your reputation is at stake. And the thing is, if you're able to get $1 million and if you're able to produce that first film, your supporters are more apt to support you in your next project as well. In the case in point of this filmmaker I told you about the documentaries, he's able to produce 5 documentary films off the support of his YouTube subscribers. That is awesome, you know. So if you can do that, more power to you, and that's a really great way to go about it. Because the great thing about crowdfunding or crowdsourcing is that you don't have to pay the money back. You don't have to answer to investors. You can keep your creative vision. No one's going to change it. It's all yours. And you know, you can decide where you want to take the film after it wraps. You can say, I want to go streaming. I want to do 4-wall. You know, no one's going to dictate to you the terms of how it's to be shown or used. So think about that. It's a very good, it's an advantageous situation to be in, you know, because believe me, I've been through the studio system, and I can tell you, a lot of people get excited when they sell their first screenplay or they get into Hollywood. But I'm telling you, that's just one step in a number of steps. The worst thing that can happen is they can take the project from you and rewrite it, and that happens all the time. You know, many writers sometimes have seen their work turn into something totally different, so much so that they wanted their names removed from the project. You know, they're like, that's not my original vision. That's not what I wrote originally. And they will throw a bunch of writers onto your screenplay to totally rewrite it and give you the money and say, hush, shut up. We paid you. Goodbye. How do you feel about that? You know what I mean? It's your baby, your vision. So that's something you need to think about. So anyway, I want you just to consider the options and really think about which route you want to go, you know, depending upon the type of person you are. If you're looking for just to get that project out there and not have a headache, find a producer. If you want some measure of control and you like pitching and you like legality, then find a lawyer, put together an LLC, and go the investor route. If you have a base of support already established, or you have a trailer, or you have a short film, then think about crowdsourcing. You know, that may be the route for you. So I want to thank you for tuning in. This is Ron K. Armstrong, filmmaker extraordinaire. Until my next video, keep making films.